Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Storytime with Nick. So, everyone has their own graphic injury story, and this one is entitled Breaking My Head. Yeah, that was the thing. So, let's take it back to, oddly enough, Memorial Day 2013. I believe this was the 21st or the 23rd. I can't remember the date specifically, but it was somewhere in that area. Um, so I had the day off, and what happened was my school, well, my district had announced a little while ago that they were sort of going to be doing this like bike race thing. Um, I forget what the thing was. I think it was some sort of like charity thing. I forget the specifics off the top of my head, but it was some event that they were hosting that was going to be in, I believe, June, early June, mid early June, somewhere along that line, along those lines. The details of that don't really matter. What does matter is at that point, I'd gotten a little older. I was now 10 at the time, and I used to have this old bike, but what happened was I grew, so I needed a new one. I had also grown out of my helmet, this old helmet that I had, so we chucked that. We never really found the time to get a new one. And plus, I'd just ridden around many times without the helmet, and I was fine. I survived. You know, just like when I was a kid and I had one of those metal scooters that really fucked up the back of my knees, or the back of my ankles. But hey, still here. I can still walk just fine. So, this day in particular, I was out just trying to get my skills up. I decided, I was with my mother and I decided, hey, we got the day off, so why not go to the park? It's super, super nice out. I remember that in particular about that day too. It was just really nice out. And I figured, you know what? It's going to be nice. I can be here. I can probably be out here all day. Maybe get some lunch in between, then come back to this area and then just keep doing my thing. So I was out there for a while. Now, at this point, I actually hadn't ridden a bike that much in the past while, so I was also trying to just get the feel of it again. I knew how to do it, just it had been a while since I kind of fell out of favor with that. And then I ended up getting back into favor with that, but I just needed a refresher more than anything else. So it was kind of a refresher and sharpening my skills type of thing, because, you know, I knew what to do. I just wanted to see what I could build off of, and also just see if I could get my instincts back, which I was getting them back nice and easily. So I figured, you know what, this June day should be a piece of cake. So remember how I said we threw out my helmet because it was too small? Yeah, well, that came back to bite me. So it's coming around lunchtime, and my mom says, hey, you want to head out? But I say, sure, but first let me do one more roundabout. I couldn't have just stopped there and said, sure, let's go get lunch. So I figured, let me just start at this little fishing hut thing. Let me ride around once to where these flagpoles are, sort of like a quarter way down the park. And this was a long thing too. This was right by the water, so it was all this open walkway. And even now I always see people biking down there. So I figured, why not? Let me do one more roundabout. Start here, go to there, come back around, and call it a little while. Maybe get some lunch after, or maybe get some pizza after, because we were going to get lunch anyway. Maybe go back home, or maybe get some pizza. We would decide on that afterwards. But that kind of never came around, because I got to the flags just fine, but on the way back, for whatever reason, the front wheel locked up, and I ended up going really hard to my right, and I flew right into a bench, head first. A metal bench, too, let me say that. Completely metal, cast iron bench. Head first right into the handle right here. And it hurt like a motherfucker right away. Let me tell you that. It hurt. It fucking hurt, that shit. Right away, I could immediately feel it. I knew something was bad, but I didn't know how bad. And when my mother saw I stopped, she was like, oh shit, that's probably not good. So she was able to come right away. And she saw that there was a bit of blood on the side of my head, and she was like, okay, no, bad. And then she ended up sniffing through my hair a little, or swooping through my hair a little, and found that I had this really large gash right around here. And she was like, okay, yeah, that's bad. Let's go home and clean that. Now, of course, she sounded a lot more in the moment than that. Not just, oh, you got hurt, let's go clean that off. No, she was actually treating this shit seriously. So we went home. She started getting a bath ready, and then she looked at it again, and she was like, you know what? No. Nothing can fix this. We're going to the hospital right now. And I was like, okay. At that point, I didn't know what to feel. The pain was starting to let up a little bit, but still, that shit hurt really fucking bad. I just broke my head, folks. I just broke my head. So, we go to the hospital, and we're greeted by a nurse, and she's like, what's the issue? And she's like, he broke his head. So she immediately goes like, okay, let's get you into a room, and we'll get a doctor with you. Well, for whatever reason, we waited like fucking half an hour for something that she seemed herself pretty urgent about. By then, I was sort of able to compose myself. I was more tired and weary than anything else, because at that point, it had been like an hour, and I was in a lot of pain at that point. And so, the doctor comes in, and he's like, so what seems to be the issue? Like, nobody briefed this fucker. Hi. What seems to be the issue with you guys? My son broke his head, and he was like, okay, sure, let me take a look. What side? This side. Okay, that looks pretty bad. Let's fix that. So, he goes and gets this staple gun. This hospital purpose staple gun. And a needle. And says, we're not going to stitch you back together, we're going to staple you back together. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of stapling someone back together, let me tell you that. I always thought stitches were it, and that was the end of the story. So he gets his needle, and he gets this numbing thing, and he puts in 3 shots. One on the front of the gash, one on the back, and one in the middle. So, I can immediately start to feel the pain going away for real this time, and it's like, okay, maybe we're finally getting somewhere. And at that point, I'm starting to get really tired because this numbing shit's really wearing me out. So, all I hear is 6 clicks. And also I feel this force on my head. I don't feel the staples go in, of course, because he waited a few minutes, but I felt this metal thing, and ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. And that was it. He stapled me back together, and we went home after that. And for the next 2 weeks, I had to have those staples in. Well, actually went on a little longer than that, but I'm going to continue that in the next part. So, getting around with a broken head was really interesting. We'll explain that in the next part. Yeah, we're going to explain that in the next part. Not just to not drag this one out for too long. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.